Good afternoon, everybody. It's Lorraine Alternative Homesteading on October 15, 2025, and it's nice and sunny here in Jackson County, Kentucky. A little breezy, but nice. I hope everybody's doing well. Welcome back to my channel and for subscribing. Remember to hit the notifications bell so that you're notified when a new video populates. So I'd like to discuss a couple of things, and this is not only for the property owners out there, and I know that several targeted people have owned property, and they do a lot of nefarious things to targeted people when they own property, own real estate, etc., etc. They try to steal it from you, try to set you up, and all this stuff. So I'm going to discuss one of my most recent situations here, although it's not the first time, here in Jackson County, Kentucky, with the Jackson County PVA, which is the Property Valuation Assessment Office. So we're going to discuss that, and I want to show you how they're concealing online information of property owners and only listing a couple of people there where most of the town, most of the community is not listed. And I'm curious as to why some people were selected to be posted online in their online database and some people were not. Now, when I lived at 52 Sutton Drive in Manalapan, New Jersey, and I don't know if it's still the case, but I did look a couple of years ago and it was still the case, so I could still look up every resident with their full name, address, and what their property taxes are. There was no other personal information there other than their name, address, and property taxes. And that's what transparency is about. Because you don't want some corrupt PVA office selecting, targeting, singling out one homeowner for reevaluation for a property tax increase when they're not doing it across the board. Particularly when other homeowners have added rooms onto their house, decks, swimming pools, and other buildings. So we're going to go into that, but I filed a complaint because that's what I do. This is my method of documenting what is happening here and also alerting whatever public officials oversee this information to perform their own investigation or pass it along to somebody who does. In addition to that, I know don't check out now because I will be doing a Q&A on some information that I found on Quora. But for those people, this could apply to you as a homeowner or a renter. They could do this to you as a renter by going behind your back, and I guarantee that this PVA office is in cahoots with the sheriff's department and overseen by the county lawyer. I'd bet my life on it, actually. Okay, so I filed a complaint with the Kentucky Department of Revenue. The complaint is the 2025 Property Tax Valuation Assessment. I received no notification from the Jackson County PVA. Dear so-and-so, thank you for taking the time to listen to the situation complaint about the Jackson County PVA Bobby Edwards. I'm still gathering past correspondence, and if I locate additional information, it will be sent under a separate cover. As I searched my files, I noticed that this is not the first instance of not receiving a property tax invoice, including this 2025 new valuation and property tax increase from owing nothing, $0, in 2023 and 2024 to currently owing a face value of $1,457.58, and this new valuation is already less the exemption of $49,100, and I'll explain how that works. In Kentucky, if you own more than 10 acres of land and are 65 years or older, you are entitled to what's called a homestead rebate. So because it's considered farm residential. Like all the places that I don't live on the property, all the land is considered farmland. You know, my outer fields, the woods and stuff, that's all considered farmland. There's nothing built on there. And then generally, and this happens in other states too, where you have a different tax rate for your primary residence, depending on the square footage. And, you know, just the immediate area surrounding your home, like particularly if it's fenced in. So there are two valuations generally for your primary residence, just based on the square footage, and then the rest of the property, which is considered farmland, which is taxed at a lower rate. Okay, so I just wanted to give you the heads up on that's how that works. So I wrote, I'm age 67 and own more than 10 acres of land, hence the homestead rebate. Attached are letters and emails documenting not receiving a tax bill for 2023 and 2025, the tax valuation notice. Given my experience with this corrupt county and public officials, it is likely intentional, as there is a group of people who want my property land. According to KRS 132.4504, the PVA, the Property Valuation Office, is required to notify property owners of any change in assessment value. I did not receive the required notice, which denied me the opportunity to schedule a timely conference or appeal. As mentioned, I have USPS informed delivery, which photographs my mail and sends it to my email address. I received no notification in June alerting me to a new valuation. Bobby Edwards claims the property was reviewed June 9, 2025. So I'm going to show you something, guys. I'm going to show you something, and then I'll continue reading, just so that you could see what I'm seeing here. Okay. I'm going to write this down here, and then I will show it to you. Okay, so I'm going to switch my little mini art here. This is an original, by the way, by Sawlight42 on eBay. So here's June 9, 2025. June is the 6th month out of the year. 9 is 9. 2025, when you reduce it to one digit, is 9. You add these digits together, you get 24, which from what I understand is a very significant Freemason number. You add 2 plus 4 together and you get 6. So basically, when you invert the 9 and the 9, you get 666. Okay, so why did he choose that date of valuation? Inquiring minds want to know. Okay, so let's get back to reading here. So, Bobby Edwards claims the property was reviewed, quote unquote, June 9, 2025, yet I was not notified and no one visited my property. He did not provide the criteria he utilized to value property, even though I requested it via a FOIA request, which I attached. There was also no documentation of the many buildings removed from the property because he did not ask. And what I'm going to say is the former owner, and this is very important for understanding some of the information I requested that they have denied me. The former owner lived here for 30 years. He owned my 64.6 acres of land, but he also owned another 20 acres. When he passed away, his sons divided the property. He sold off the 20 acres across the street with a house on it, a barn, a couple of other buildings, to my neighbor, Jezebel, with the blue lights on. Okay, so this is very significant because when I purchased the property, the former owner's sons paid the tax bill for that year. And that tax bill that they paid included the property across the street. And it was insignificant. And obviously, he was in his 90s. So he was exonerated from a lot of property taxes. But nevertheless, when he lived here, the barn that was on my side of the property existed. It's no longer here because it was flooded out by the culvert that's pointed towards my property that should be removed, replaced. And his former mobile home trailer, which is over 1,000 square feet, removed. So I essentially got rid of his 1,000+ square foot mobile home trailer and replaced it with my tiny 740 square foot cabin. And basically that's what it is. It's very small, guys. So let me continue. I just wanted to give you that backdrop to demonstrate that this was clearly deliberate. Okay, so I'm going to back up. Bobby Edwards claims the property was reviewed June 9, 2025, yet I was not notified. No one visited my property. He did not provide the criteria that he utilized to value property, even though I requested it via FOIA. There was no documentation of the many buildings that I removed from the property because he didn't ask. Also, my last contact with the Jackson County PVA office before October 2025 was February 18, 2025. After 6 years, my property tax card was finally updated with a photo of my 740 square foot cabin, rather than the 1,000 square foot mobile home trailer the former owner lived in. I tore down that trailer because it was covered in black mold and replaced it in another location on the land with my small cabin. I was not even aware of this completely outdated property card until I listed my land for sale, and the realtor commented that the mobile home trailer still populated rather than my house. The acreage for the property was also incorrect because I already updated that information in 2020 with a clerk after the property was surveyed. Yet the PVA office failed to update the tax card until February 18, 2025. Attached, please find the February 18 letter from McKaylee, who's the office assistant, confirming exoneration of all taxes. It specifically says that in writing after she updated the acreage and after she added my house. She added the house photo, changed the acreage. Until I received a tax bill on October 3rd, 2025 from the Jackson County Sheriff Daniel Isaacs, I received no correspondence from the Jackson County PVA office. And they had my email address. They could have sent it via email. They could have sent it via mail. They could have sent it via certified mail. It was never sent. So for the past 2 years, since turning 65, I was exonerated from property taxes. Although exonerated, I did not receive any annual notification of the exoneration and what the property taxes would have been for years 2023 and 2024. There was no itemized invoices that deducted the tax benefit. I repeatedly asked the PVA office via phone calls, and they claimed there were no mailings once exonerated. My CPA would usually document this on my tax return, yet there was no itemization of what taxes would have been due that were provided. I therefore have no reference to compare this new valuation itemization to any received in the past, and the PVA office refuses to provide information that would substantiate their fraudulent and targeting tax practices. For instance, my neighbors at blah 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 blah, once part of my property with the former owner, installed a new deck, a swimming pool, a new building, and added rooms to their existing house. They completely renovated that house from its original purchased form. They're in their 30s and they would not be subject to exoneration, yet likely did not receive a new valuation. I visited the Jackson County PVA tax records website online. There are search options by address, plot, etc. I entered at least 4 known neighbor addresses, yet none of their names appear on this public tax record website. However, my name was on the website with 2 other neighbors. That is all there was listed for the dozens of owners that live on my road and the road that intersects. How do I remove my name from this website, and why aren't my neighbors' names listed? Attached are the FOIA requests and recent correspondence, the 2025 Jackson County property tax statement, and more. I also recorded a phone conversation with the PVA in which Bobby Edwards is mocking me, stating that there's no way for me to dispute his valuation. So now let's go on to the Beacon website. This is a public, and just so you know, guys, in every state, in every county, every town, there are public tax records. I mean, like I said, I haven't looked recently, but I probably looked about 2 years ago because I wanted to see what my former property taxes would have been. And it was all listed there. All of my neighbors' names, all of their addresses, and all their property taxes. There was no other personal information there, just information that should be available to the public. Names, addresses, taxes. So here, this is what it looks like. Now, for privacy reasons, I am not going to enter my address here. But I can assure you that my name populates about 2 other neighbors. One actually passed away. Perhaps her family inherited the property. She's up here. One person at the intersecting street. But all of the perpetrators, Poopy Nurse, the Blondie Big Mouth, Jezebel with the blue lights on, who did all that major work on her property, nobody populates. Oh, and also the person that stole my gate and said that the law told him that it was okay to do that, he's not listed here either. So here. So I needed to record this for informational purposes only, for educational purposes only. You make sure that if you own property, because I will be making sure, if God forbid I'm still here next year, you know I will be on their case way before May of next year. And although I did pay my property taxes, I intend to get at least a half of it as a rebate, because I'm going to dispute this. And I've already filed a complaint with the Kentucky Department of Treasury. I'm going to be filing with a couple of other places whose names I won't mention right here. So now here is a question. What is the difference between government-run stalking programs and criminal gang stalking programs? I didn't answer this question. A couple of people did. But I thought this was an interesting response from 2 years ago. Now, this man's name is Mark, from 2 years ago. He says, well, not a whole lot that I can see, and no one cannot exist without the other. Government gang stalking programs, for the most part, operate under the law. The vast majority initiate under the laws and guidelines of local, state, and federal statutes. This doesn't mean that there are not violations of civil rights or ethics guidelines. It simply means they haven't been challenged in court yet. Lots of times things make it look on the books and then in practice are part of some enforcement arm of the FOC or a court-ordered program. So the action comes well after the fact, and people start to wonder, where in the hell is this coming from? When the answer is right in front of them. Unscrupulous employees become aware of this, and quite frankly, they have no problem exploiting what to them is a source of shits and giggles and some extra cash at times. When the government-sponsored sanction ends, oftentimes members of loose-knit criminal groups associated with the sanction, either as a snitch or informant, a program member or an employee or an advocate, and they will pick it up visualizing its potential value. Sad. And this isn't anything new. These groups and meetings at churches and other places turn into a networking station, pooling people with checkered pasts into one centralized location out of which they can coordinate with new and old partners, share area news as far as what anyone is playing the game should surely want to be up on, scan the field for new work, meaning new targets, get intel reports on targets, such as, oh, well, he's good for this, he'll pay you that, you don't have to worry, he won't call the police, or stay away from that one. The stalkers I'm familiar with are international and work both sides of the border, and this makes things easy for them and bad for a target. My understanding about one recent incident involved an older American man living in Tijuana who was reportedly deleted by being given a fatal dose of fentanyl. The girls who did it came and went for 3 days, leaving the body there, and somebody finally smelled it. Doesn't this sound like Kurt Cobain? Oh yeah, and just for the record, I saw a video yesterday because my ears perked up. There has been an investigation by an outside person who found the evidence that Kurt Cobain did not take his own life. He was deleted. Okay, after all these years, Kurt Cobain, we all knew it anyway, right? We all knew it, did not take his own life. He was deleted. Deliberate. Exactly what I just described here. The girls who did it came and went for 3 days, leaving the body there. Somebody finally smelled it. They were taking all of his possessions and trying to contact his family in the USA to exploit more money from them. He also had a motorhome in San Diego, and they got the keys, and they were over there taking more. This is what I've been told from people who should be in a position to know these things, but you never know. The girl's name was Wendy, and she was reportedly deleted within a few days after they discovered his body. I heard the shots said to have been her death. Problems arise when someone's wide interpretation of most likely new legislation enacted with both corrupted or legitimate intent just push the envelope as to what is legal, and when a judge or court is on board, things can quickly turn corrupt. Passing legislation is work, but not as hard as you may think, especially for someone who normally works the inside and have their ducks in a row all the way down the line in making what they want to happen. Further issue is that it takes time to understand what the side effects and fallouts are from these laws, what they will be, and in the interim, people get run over daily by the bushel basketful. Do you believe that? If you do, you're no different than most of us. Have to break, we'll continue. These laws, if you will, have a few things working for them. Things that are not all that kosher, yet you will see lines of people twice a day waiting to hand over their money at every courthouse in the land. And that in itself works and weighs heavy on people's perception and will turn them into devout believers of something and will not change their mind. And that is how laws are passed, exploited, and verified for use on you that may not even be legal. But as long as the appearance is kept up, it's all good. So I thought that was an astute response to the question, what is the difference between government-run stalking programs and criminal gang stalking programs? So I'll leave a comment down below. If you own property, have your property taxes increased without notification? Inquiring minds like to know. Signing off for now.